It's time for Where You Live with Gene and Tony, the show that's all about owning, buying, selling, renting, and association management. If it involves a home, we'll talk about it. Here's your chance to get your homeowner questions answered. From the Concierge Landscape Studios, here's Gene and Tony.
Needed the shelter of someone's arms, and there you were. Needed someone to understand.
Welcome back to Hour 2 of Where You Live with Gene and Tony, and we're glad that you're with us today. If you're just joining us, we're going to be talking about a couple of different topics. We have out of Houston, Texas, a neighborhood homeowner association that, and see if you're find yourself in these same circumstances, folks. You're in an association. You're trying desperately to cut the budget because things continue to rise, and you just don't want to see any more money go to raising dues in your association. This association started to forego basic services that they were providing the association. In this case, a swimming pool that they said we don't want to support any longer. Are you in favor of something like that? We also have coming up a little bit later in the show, you probably saw it this last week in the Star Tribune. There is a small town called Tenney, Minnesota, that has finally said farewell. They have unincorporated and are going their separate ways. And we're going to glean lessons from the tiny town of Tenney with and have some lessons for all HOAs to learn. And we want to again welcome you. I'm Gene Sullivan.
And I'm Tony Crockett, and we want to hear what you have to say. Call us, 651-289-4488, or email us, Gene, Gene, at ncmgi.com.
Yeah. Let's go ahead, Tony, with this next article. This is out of Houston, Texas, and this was reported by Channel 13, KTRK, an ABC affiliate in Houston. And it says, neighborhood cuts services as funds run low. And it says, imagine having a neighborhood pool that you haven't been able to use for years. That's what's happening in one spring community, and residents want the locks taken off, but finding the money to do so hasn't been easy. On a hot day, Kim Myers' kids play in the neighborhood park, even though a clean, sparkling swimming pool is just a few feet away. It's closed. It's horrible, said Myers. I would love for my kids to be able to swim. They love swimming. They have trophies from the swim team. But I want but they said I want my kids' trophies to be in the same spot. They want to be able to see their kids continue to swim. But the Cypress Dale neighborhood pool has been closed for 4 years. The homeowners association doesn't have enough money to pay for lifeguards. When we get to the point where we run out of money, then we will have to cut back even more, Myers said. Here's what's happening. And Tony, tell me what you think. Cypress Dale subdivision, it says their financial problems started a long time ago. They have annual dues. This is annual dues now.
Yearly. Annual yearly.
And $25 a year.
To say that again, I talked over you. How much per year?
$225 a year.
That's year.
It for the dues. And it's been that way since 1987, and it's been capped.
It was capped in 1987 so that it could never go higher.
Never go higher.
Was that short-sighted, do you think, Gene?
I think maybe just a little bit.
Wow.
And the association, or some in the association, want a proposal now that would increase the fee by 10% in this next year, and then in subsequent years allow for up to a 10% hike with board approval.
Wow.
Rebecca Morales lives walking distance from the pool. Even though things are tight, she says she'd pay for the increase. She says, I've got some young kids in our family, and it would give them something to do in the summer. Mm-hmm. But now you've got others in the homeowners association, and not everyone is excited about this because it says they don't know if they can afford an increase. If you're on a fixed Social Security with a little bit of income coming in for retirement, you're terrified, said resident Betsy Billingsley. And so you've got the Homeowners Association that is in odds of what to do. So far, it looks like the HOA has now been able to get about 46% of the homeowners to sign requisite signatures in order to show that they have approval. They need about 51%.
To raise their rates.
Yeah,
it says if they can't raise the rates, then more cuts are coming. Right?
That's correct.
Yeah.
And so what they think might be next would be this is an HOA that would then have to cut things like the security patrols and some of the street lighting.
That's getting really bad if you have to cut your street lighting.
Yeah, and it's I certainly feel for someone who's on a fixed income,
Sure.
as was mentioned by this woman, Betsy Billingsley. But to stop and think that since 1987 till now, that's what, 24 years?
Yep, no increase in 24 years.
Yeah, it makes me ask the question: has there not been an increase in anything else in over 24 years?
There has.
When you live in a home, unfortunately, there are things that you have to deal with.
That's right.
There will be increases in utility costs, and I don't know that you have any say in that. You just realize that that's a part of life. We're not talking, when I hear this, I don't see an association that's being excessive in their spending. If anything, I think they have gone, the pendulum, I think, has swung the other way for so many years. Don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. Here, it brings to mind this. I have worked with boards in homeowners associations who truly feel that their main fiduciary responsibility to their community is to never raise the assessment. They think that's job one. Don't ever raise the assessment.
And they're proud of that fact, too.
That's right. We don't want our monthly assessment to go up. We want to never raise the assessment. Well, this community actually did that. They took action and they capped their annual fees at $225 24 years ago. Now they're suffering consequences, and pretty severe consequences. Their pool has been closed for 4 years. They're going to lose street lighting. They're going to lose security patrol. What's next? I don't know what's included in their assessment. It doesn't sound like much is included in the assessment if it's been $225 a year. But this is what happens. It's like your personal budget. You can choose to cut things, or you can choose to increase your income somehow. Those are your two options. And it sounds like it's high time for this association to choose to increase its income.
Yes. Tony, it looks like we have another email that just came in. This is from Myrna from Coon Rapids. She says, I live on a limited income, just a small pension and Social Security. She said, I don't want to spend more for things that I don't use anymore. Isn't that right?
Well, I think there's two sides to that argument. I certainly relate to her. And as someone who's looking forward to retirement someday, hopefully, I certainly understand the problems inherent with living on a fixed income. However, I lived in South Minneapolis for 40 years, and my property taxes all that time helped pay for the public schools, even though for most of that time, for only 20 years of that time, did I have children in the public school system, right? But I think that's a valuable thing to provide to our culture. If you live in a homeowners association that provides a swimming pool or other amenities, you are committing to supporting those amenities, are you not?
Yeah, and what I would like to address to Myrna with her statement here, I think she's absolutely right. Isn't it right? Doesn't she have the right, and the homeowners there, to decide not to continue to fund an amenity or something at the association? And I think you and I both agree in that the freedom to choose ought to be with that homeowners association.
Sure, certainly. But if she is saying that specific homeowners should be able to opt out, I mean, of paying for those amenities, then I think that's a different question.
Yeah. Well, and I don't know if she's talking about opting out, but the one thing that I would caution her or others in an association before they begin to take away things that are amenities. Number one is they have, to some degree, a legal obligation based on their governing documents to provide
That's right.
a certain level of service, and that is why homeowners bought in the first place. And so it would be, how many times have we been seeing news stories, Tony, about legislators who were concerned? Remember last week about the one who said associations are taking in money and then they're not providing the services that they said that they should?
Yes.
I think that's what could be happening here as well. People bought in with the understanding that there would be a pool,
That's
that
right.
there would be these
That's right.
amenities, and I think the association could open themselves up for a lawsuit if they don't provide those basic services.
Sure. And if Myrna was saying, as you explained, she's absolutely right. The association and its members can decide if they're going to cut services or increase the budget. That's how the community is organized, and that's why it's organized that way. However, is it realistic? I really do empathize with someone on a fixed income, but is it realistic on a fixed income to believe that none of your costs will ever go up, or that maybe it's just you have to fight every cost that does go up to the best of your ability to protect yourself? I can understand that too.
Well, I guess the key is to be involved in the conversation, to be involved with even that level of government with your homeowners association.
That's right.
But as you mentioned before, and I think it's a good point that bears repeating, and that is just because you may not use a particular service anymore does not mean that you don't have a responsibility for it. Let me give you an example in the city. You talked about schools. How about city streets?
Yeah.
Part of a person's property taxes goes to pay to maintain city streets. Someone like Myrna or someone elderly may not even drive anymore, may not even own a car, but that doesn't mean that because they own a home that they would be able to forego a certain amount of those payments for the improvement of the streets in front of where they live.
And another point I think that should be made, Gene, is even if I'm not using those services anymore, they still have value to me for this reason. They add value to my property.
Yes.
Right? My property is more valuable if there's an operational swimming pool in the community. My property is more valuable if there's a well-paved street in front of my house. So I may not be immediately using those things, but property values are affected by those things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so when you hear this article, I am amazed for a couple reasons. One, to find an association that's gone 24 years without raising their dues whatsoever. They have gone above and beyond. But at this point, I think they probably need to continue until at such time that they're able to change their governing documents of what they are responsible for, they need to see the dues raised so that they can support those services.
I would speak a little more strongly about that. I would say this association has not been well served by its board. Maybe they probably consider they've gone above and beyond their fiduciary responsibility, but I think they have failed their fiduciary responsibility.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's kind of a catch-22, isn't it? Because they probably thought they were so smart by half when that was created to have that prohibition saying that the dues will be forever capped at that one rate. Well, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we want to take a look at that tiny town of Tenney that is going away, and what are the lessons you can glean as an HOA from that township that is saying goodbye. And also, in the state of Utah, the Commerce Department now wants to launch a homeowners associations registry where every association, every homeowner is registered. What do you think about that? We'll take a break. We'll be back after these messages.